Welcome to the Parenting on the Spectrum show with board-certified behavior analyst and infant-toddler development specialist, Theresa Alexander Inman. Parenting on the Spectrum dives into real stories, challenges, and triumphs, offering invaluable insights and support for families on your unique journey. Let's get into the episode.
Welcome. Today, my guest is Miss Pennie Wilson. She is a mental fitness coach who helps people claim their right to choose. Welcome, Miss Pennie.
Thank you, Theresa. It's so beautiful to be here.
Oh, it's awesome having you. So before we even go anywhere, I have a couple of thoughts that just came to mind. First of all, Kokoro Creators. What exactly, first of all, the name, and then you can tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I love that. Kokoro is a word that means heart, body, mind, and soul. When we were beginning our company, we were trying to find a word that encapsulated the heart of everything that we wanted to do. And we found this name and it just stuck. It was definitely different, weird at first. And we're like, what? But we've actually Americanized it from the Japanese word and put the emphasis of core in the center, because that's where all of our leadership, all of our heart and passion for becoming who we want to be and living the way we want to live comes from.
Awesome. So you're saying it comes from inside us, not from somebody else trying to control things?
Yeah, absolutely. Heart-centered, yes.
Yes, awesome. And mental fitness coach. You're the first mental fitness coach that I've met. And so what exactly is a mental fitness coach?
I love that question. Mental fitness is about intentionally training your mind to think what you want to think. So often our minds drift down to what we don't want, right? And unless we intentionally train it to go where we do want, those automatic thoughts take us down. So it is intentional. It's daily. I have daily practice and I teach our community how to use tools so that they can focus on what they want and let go of the heaviness of what they don't want.
Okay, awesome. It brought to mind what Dr. Amen talks about, killing the ants, right? The automatic negative thoughts.
Automatic negative thoughts, yes. Yeah. So like there's one side of it that's the heaviness of what we don't want. But in traditional, sometimes we forget to look at the opposite of what we do want, right? So there's this image that we talk about, the clouds. Imagine you're standing on the beach and there's clouds over on the left side, right? That represents all the heaviness, what you don't want. And it's not that we want to ignore those heavy things. We just simply need to pause and acknowledge them and see what life is trying to teach us through those experiences. And then asking, what do I want to experience instead? And looking over to the opposite side of the sky, where's the sun and the warmth and all of that joy, that is what calls us forward and upward. Two opposite powerful forces in life, the gravity or desire that pulls us toward the sun.
Right. And we know what we focus on magnifies. So
absolutely, yes.
Awesome. So then what, as a mental fitness coach, people come to you when?
They're definitely they feel a lot of responsibility in their life and their leadership and their parenting. And they're in a place where the heaviness is pulling them down and they need tools. It becomes a very high desire. I work with people on a scale of desire from 7 to 10. So I help them to get into a calm meditative state, because that's where the mind can be repatterned to recognize what we don't want and replace it with what we do want. So they come when they're in the middle. We call it the messy middle of what they want to create. And I teach them how to hold that space. There's a framework I teach called The Power of TED. It's from a book called The Empowerment Dynamic. The book is called The Power of TED. It's from David Emerald. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it teaches how to hold the tension in the middle of this space, the dynamic tension of holding the belief when we're working towards something that we want, and yet it feels messy in the middle. So that's what I do, is I teach them right in that messy spot to find the belief and the passion and how to train their mind to focus on really where they want to go.
Right, because our minds are so squirrely.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
there's so many people I talk to, like, I can't meditate. I just can't
Mm.
focus. I can't. And I know when I first started, I'd always fall asleep.
Uh-huh.
Just
Yep.
even focusing on my breath, I would
Right.
just fall asleep. So how do you help people maintain that? Share with us your tools.
Oh, I would love to. So, first of all, it's recognizing the power is within you. Your ability to choose is within you. And the more you choose it, the more muscle you'll gain to be able to exercise it. So, it is just one baby step. So, some people say they have the inability to visualize. Aphantasia is what it's called. And if you simply practice imagining an apple, close your eyes, just imagine you see an apple in your mind's eye. You might not see it like really clearly, but the more you practice that, the more you'll be able to see it clearly. And sometimes kinesthetically, I sense things in my body. I have a feeling for what they feel like, but I don't really see it clearly in my mind's eye. So imagine that apple, and then imagine tasting the apple,
Mhm.
and then imagine touching it. So just involve all your senses. So it's definitely a skill that can be practiced.
Yeah.
And then just really having a pause practice in the middle of what your day is looking like. If you have a moment of stress, recognizing the power of your breath is one of the most important practices and gifts that you can give yourself. There's someone I follow called Andrew Huberman. I believe he's from Harvard, Harvard Institute, and
That's my dog. He found a,
friends.
yeah,
No worries.
a snack.
But I was really amazed when I learned that the power of the breath has the ability to literally calm and slow down the heart rate just when you pause for that moment. So if you're in that tensious situation, allow yourself that gift to pause and recognize that it's the most important thing you can do rather than engaging in any kind of emotional heightened, conversations that could potentially damage that relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we're, because it's, I guess we're thinking out of our amygdala when that happens, right? We're not,
Mhm.
the prefrontal cortex is just asleep.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, things can go awry really quickly. And, I tell people this all the time. And sometimes I wonder, is it too simple when I tell them, just take a moment and take a deep breath, breathe in for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. And they look at me like I'm crazy. But then the people who actually try it, they're like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it works. Because I always joke and tell them that has kept me out of prison.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with children with behavioral issues in the
Right.
school district. And I mean, I'd get kicked in the face and slapped and punched and scratched. And
Mm,
in the beginning, I got upset. And then I had
yeah.
to think, these are children. They are
Mhm.
operating out of their best selves. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, instinct was like, oh my gosh, like just hold me back, somebody,
Right? Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then I started just practicing the breath, and I
Mhm.
was able to always remember that these are babies. I'm here to help them. They've
Yeah.
learned what they've learned, and we have to teach them a different way.
Exactly.
Instead of just getting so upset that I forgot my purpose. I forgot where I was there for a moment. And all it takes is a moment for things
Mhm.
to go awry. So I
Yep.
would always just, that's it. And I mean, it got to the point where a young lady literally pulled my hair out of my head. And my colleague looked at me and she was like, are you okay? I was like, yeah. I just bent down, picked my hair up, put it in my pocket, and we just kept on talking.
Wow.
So I was like,
That
oh my
is
gosh, it
power.
worked.
Mhm. Oh my goodness. That is like, I'm sure you'd been practicing at that point for many, many years,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Someone on the beginning of their journey might be looking at and saying that is absolutely impossible. I could never do that, but it's practice, right? That's after years and years of training yourself not to react to that initial emotion that came in. So that's the thing is like we recognize, okay, and I love your example because it's really the perfect situation where you are are responsible for someone else. You're there for a purpose, right? You want to help them and support them. So the initial thing that happened, recognizing, okay, I'm having a moment, my emotions are coming up and what's going on. And then you pause. And then remembering how to see them in the way that's in alignment with who you are and how you want to show up. So that's really what gave you power in that moment to be able to focus then, okay, I'm going to choose to stay calm. I'm going to support them and be there with them and for them. That's so powerful.
Yeah. And, it felt even better the next day when that same young lady, when I was walking past her, I didn't say anything. I was just walking past. My face was just, stoic. And she looked at me, she said, "Aren't you going to say hi?" I smiled at her and I said, "Good morning, beautiful." And that was just the beginning of a whole different relationship.
Wow. Oh, that's so amazing, right? Because what's the typical response? Like, if we do react, then we're going to have heavy emotions stuck inside of us from that, like hard feelings or judgment or resentment. But you chose to literally let it go, and there was nothing stuck inside of you. So you were able to keep that connection and build that relationship. That's so beautiful.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
So let's get back to your tools, Miss Pennie, because I can just go off on all kinds of tangents.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the things that we talk about every week in our community is 3 key focuses. And I do also, one other just popped into my mind of the tree. So let me first talk about the tree, and then we'll go to the 3 key focuses. So the tree represents being able to clear all the confusion in your mind. So just imagine that you have an old wise grandma, right? And you're going to go to this grandma and she's in the form of this tree. And the tree is going to help you find the truth that you need. So the branches represent the thoughts. What's happening in the circumstances? What are you thinking about the situation? And then as you recognize, oh, I'm thinking XYZ, and they could be heavy, dark thoughts. I'm thinking that they shouldn't do that. I'm thinking that that hurt me. I'm thinking that it felt mean when they did that. Whatever the thoughts are, and then go down to the emotions. And then think about this too with the darkness and the light in the background, right? So there's things that we don't want and things that we do want. So after you recognize the thoughts, then go deeper into the emotions. How did that make me feel when that happened? I felt angry. I felt like injustice. I felt rage, whatever it was, just acknowledge it. The more you push away these emotions, the more they're going to come back with more kinetic force. So simply allowing yourself to acknowledge what you're feeling is so powerful. You're not going to react to it. You're not going to give it power, but acknowledge it, what's happening, because there's a moment when you can learn from this. Then going down deeper into the roots, going into what am I believing about this situation? What does this mean about who I am, about how I'm capable? And typically when you feel these heavy emotions on the side of the clouds, you're going to find a lie. I call them lies because they're not who we truly are, right? Or a lie about the other person, how we see them. Oh, they're so selfish. They're just doing this on purpose. Well, I would call that a lie, because if you see them as a creator, as someone who has potential for beautiful growth and expansion, then you're going to see them as that person that can grow into that. And you want to help nurture that, right? So recognizing what is the lie I believe, and then shift your focus after you recognize those 3 things over to the sun. What is the thoughts that I want to replace with the heaviness? Right? Seeing the truth. What thoughts do I want to believe about them, or believe about myself, or believe about this circumstance? A lot of people use the term that the circumstances are just facts. And when we feel these emotions, they're not bad or good, but they're simply feedback, right? And what are we learning from them? So just observe them from that perspective. After you acknowledge, then you look at what you want to feel and think. So find out, what do I want to feel or experience, see it in a desired outcome, which is one of the 3 key focuses we'll talk about next. See what you want to create, and then see how you want to feel in that circumstance. I want to feel like I'm making a difference. I want to feel like I'm doing something good. So connect into your reason for being there, like you were saying, and then go to the beliefs. What do I want to believe about myself in this circumstance? How do I want to see the other person? What do I want to believe about them? So number one is going to be the most powerful thing about what we see in ourselves, how we see ourselves and how we want to show up. And then number two, how we see and relate to other people. So that's a little bit about the tree.
Nice. So it's changing the story, really, because
Yeah.
we attach so many stories, and a lot of times they're not true. So, and even I think of parents who say, "Well, she's doing it to get me upset." I'm like, "No, she's 2 years old, or
Yeah.
whatever." She is not like she's not
Yeah.
thinking, "How can I make my mother?" Or he's not thinking, "How can I make my parents' lives miserable today?" They're not having this,
Mhm.
this meeting in their mind where they're like, okay, this one's, and that's just not the case. So I
Right.
think we attach the stories and then we project
Mhm.
our stories onto other people. And do we find ways to validate them?
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever we believe, our brain is going to find ways to validate and give us evidence for. If we believe they're doing it on purpose, our brain is going to present us, look, see, you're right because of this. You're right because of this. But those beliefs were created from the past experiences, from whatever was already wired in there. So I have a lot of compassion for parents that struggle with those feelings and those automatic negative thoughts, as we've talked about, because I was there. I was that momzilla mom. I yelled at my kids. I tried to control them. And right, we show up in ways that we don't love, and we can look back with compassion to say, I really didn't know any better, which is why I do what I do now, to teach parents and leaders how to have strength in that messy middle, how to hold their calmness in the middle of that storm. So having compassion, like if you don't have the tools, you really can't do any better. And the example that was set for you as a parent, you were parented by someone, and that was creating your automatic thoughts.
Absolutely. I remember somebody said to me one time, they're like, well, you know, and it was just not even my kids, like my children actually always told me how much they appreciated me as a mom because
Oh.
we went through the mess together. I mean, we were,
Mm-hmm.
but we were really close. I shouldn't say but, and we were really close. And I think that's what
Mm-hmm.
helped us stay together and pulled us through.
Yeah.
Somebody made a mistake because I mean, I'm not perfect and neither are my children. They are super awesome. Love them. And they said, well, you're not a perfect mom. Your kids are there. I said, listen, I did the best I could with what I know and what I have. I'm not doing this because I was perfect. I'm doing this because I wasn't. And I'm trying to help somebody else. I'm trying to help people prevent this as to the best I can, like to give
Yeah.
information so that they don't have to learn the hard way like I did.
Yep, exactly. To relieve suffering and to help lift them up. Absolutely, because it doesn't have to be so hard. I tried to figure it out on my own for so long, right? Just figure it out and do it by yourself and keep pushing. But when you reach out and you get humble enough, I had to hit my rock bottom before I really decided, okay, I've got to get this figured out. So I reached out, I started a 12-step program. I went through all of the different parenting models and figuring out really how to find that calmness and control within myself.
Yeah, and it's important. And for me, people always told me how smart I was, and smart people don't ask questions. You're
Oh.
supposed to know. So I tried to figure it out on my own. That was one
Mm-hmm.
of the dumbest things ever.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
thank God I had a village, and I still do have a village that I could go to, and people who were okay calling me out on my foolishness.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
just so
Yep.
appreciate them.
Yeah. With love, we definitely need those voices that help us to see what we can't see.
Absolutely. Those blind
Mhm.
spots, they're there where you just choose not
Mhm.
to see them. Well, they're blind spots. They're called blind spots for a reason.
Right? Yep. Can't see them, don't know that they're there. The assumptions, right? The assumptions of, I was thinking about that joke this morning. I don't know if you've heard the joke about there's two fish swimming in the ocean, and one fish looks at the other one and he says, how's the water today? And he looks at the second fish looks at the first fish that asked him the question. He said, what water? So the assumptions that we have, we're swimming in water and we don't realize it.
Right.
So when it comes to that place of questioning and finding those blind spots, why do I think that way? Why am I having this automatic assumption that they're doing it to me on purpose? And just having that heart of compassion for yourself, you're not wrong, you're not broken. It's just that you can't see what you don't see. None of us can.
Exactly.
So being curious is a superpower.
Yes, absolutely. I always tell
Mhm.
parents, you don't know what you don't know, so stop judging yourselves.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So before our time is up, I mean, we still have some time, but then I just want to be mindful. More tools, please.
Okay, last one I'll share is our 3 key focuses. So when you find yourself in the messy middle, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. These emotions are going crazy and you're not sure what to do. First, finding that pause and allowing yourself to breathe. After you find that pause, the back of your brain will stop acting like a commander and trying to force everyone to do what he wants to do. Then the front of your brain comes back online where you have your problem solving and your innovation, and then your brain actually can give you access to the intelligence side of your body. And once you do that, then you have 3 key focuses. So number 1 is the first focus, imagining looking toward the sun. What do I want to create? Where am I going? And give yourself a moment to imagine, what would that look like if I was in that situation and I had already accomplished it? If there's a problem relationship with a child, what do I want that relationship to look like? How do I want to feel about myself? And what do I want to believe about them? And then looking at the clouds, what is the challenge that's stopping me from going toward that desired outcome? Well, I believe that they're doing it to me on purpose. Just keep going back to that example. And what can I believe instead? Well, that they don't know any better, that they're doing the best, and I get to choose to learn something from the situation. The third thing is, what's the one next step? What's the one thing that you can do today? A baby step, something that you can do. Maybe play with the child, right? Just let go of the expectations and just be there with them in that moment and let them feel your calmness and your love. That is what creates their willingness to want to walk with you.
Absolutely. I tell parents like regulation is the best strategy. It's everything else because if you don't start from a place of regulation, then you're already coming from the minus. So starting with regulation, all we do is build because I believe that children, they sense that energy and sometimes they behave in ways they don't understand. It's because they're sensing this tension and this stress from you. So if you can just tap into your inner child maybe and
Yes.
regulate, get on the
Mhm.
floor, roll around, have fun,
Yes.
then you know there's no end, like there's no limit to what you can attain
Mm.
because you've let all that other baggage go and now you can fly.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, I just had a client that shared a story last week. He used to be in this, combative relationship with his son. First thing in the morning, they would always fight. I don't want to go to school. What's going on? And then after he went through our program, he's like, he just woke up and he was so excited. And he's like, Dad, what are we going to do today? And there was just this automatic emotional connection that was shifted, totally different. So yeah, the emotional regulation of how you're feeling and how you're showing up.
Yeah. And it's also teaching your child how to, because when we're always stressed and then, our children become us, right?
Mm-hmm.
We teach them, we model for them the
Yeah.
behaviors that they're going to imitate. So the best thing to do is model the behaviors you would like them to imitate instead of these just automatic, you know, unfiltered reactions to
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. And we don't always show up the way that we want to, right? And that's an intention, that's a desire, and having lots of compassion for the part of you that's still learning.
Yeah. And all of us are still learning because I mean, I'm sure you can speak to this too. And I do also,
For
I was
sure.
like, wait, I could have handled that a lot different than,
Yep. Yep.
even now I say, I sit back and even when I supervise people and I go to them, it's like, oh, listen, that was an example of how not to in this
Right.
circumstance.
Yes.
So
Okay.
now
Yep.
let's put that and we'll do
Yep.
the how to.
Right.
And we have to be open to that because as human beings, we're
Mm-hmm.
always going to falter. We'll make mistakes. We
Mm-hmm.
just have to not let our mistakes define us.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And in fact, that reminds me of one last thing, if I can share. If
Absolutely.
you have one of those moments of, I didn't show up the way that I wanted to, then imagine it in your mind, see the clouds. Okay, how did it go? What happened? Recognize the pattern of why you reacted, and then visualize in your mind what you want to happen. What do you want to experience? Seeing that relationship, the old way and the new way. And that's going to create pathways in your brain where you can actually flow toward what you desire.
Yes. because you are the creator.
Yes,
People look at me,
absolutely.
well, but no, I'm not, because there are all these other circumstances, all these things that are happening. You have control of that, because I believe we attract who we are. So if
Mhm.
we're in a funky mood, we're going to attract funkiness.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep. One step at a time. Yep.
exactly. I mean, if you're in a funky music mood, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah. Get your groove on.
Exactly. And you still
That's
will
fun.
attract funky people.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Your energy vibration definitely attracts what you're thinking, what you attract, what you notice. Like, set your brain to focus on what you want. This is what I want to create. This is what I want to do. This is the kind of people I want to be with. And your life will fall into place more than you can realize.
Absolutely. But somebody said to me and I'd never even heard the term before, because I tend to be, I don't know, I guess look at life through rose-colored glasses, and somebody accused me of being toxically positive, and I was just like, what is that? Like, I didn't think that was a thing. It seems like an oxymoron to me.
It does. Yeah. I can give you a quick example. When I was a kid, my mom, I would get hurt, skin my knee, and she would be like, "You're okay. Just jump up. You're fine." But
Mm,
as a 30-year-old, I realized I was never allowed to feel sadness. I couldn't express my hurt. So I
mhm.
had to give that gift to myself and allow myself to recognize it's okay. I can say how I feel. So, yeah, toxic positivity is strangely a real thing.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, we all feel things. It's just that I choose not to stay in it,
Hmm.
because when we stay in it, that's when things become, that's when they go awry. I
Hmm.
will acknowledge it. I will realize, yeah, that really sucks.
Hmm.
It's not the way I'd like it to go. However,
Exactly.
I change what I can change, which is in here
Hmm.
and in
Yeah.
here.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yep. And that's enough. That's enough to simply acknowledge it. Give that space 3, 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be heavy. And what do you want instead?
yes,
Yep.
absolutely. Oh, Miss Penny, anything you want to leave our audience with today? Any thought? If you were to just, something that you just want to hammer in.
Well, I don't like hammers, but I will definitely offer a plate of cookies.
Okay.
And, and just recognize that you do have the power. It is within you. You can choose. It just takes a deliberate intention. Choose to say to yourself what you want to think. I'm a creator. Feel in your body what that feels like. That feels expansive. That feels warm. That feels like I'm in the sun. And then what does that help me to believe about my potential? That means I can choose. I can choose right now in this moment to pause and breathe. I can choose to accept who I am and recognize that there's one next step that I can take.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Penny.
You're
I
so welcome.
really enjoyed our conversation, our information. Gosh, um, new tongue. Um, yes, I've thoroughly enjoyed having you,
It's
and
been a pleasure.
thank you for all that information, all the tips, the tools that parents can use right now to
Yes.
help.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
Thank you. And
You're
to our
so welcome.
audience, thank you. Thank you. To our audience, thank you so much for watching. And hey, listen, you have the power to choose. See you next time. Same place, same time.